Hello, and
Hello.
welcome to Coffee Class with
My
Young
God, a lot of people.
Screenwriters. Yeah.
Greetings from California, from Jerusalem, from LA, from...
Now that John can see the comments, it's a completely
just
different world.
It's open. You've changed
Guys, this just
the
happened.
whole new world. It's sad, isn't it?
Considering it's in the right-hand side, it says comments, you know.
Yeah, it's been to the right of the screen this whole time.
I thought there was some big trick to it. Turns out there is. Hit the comments.
Oh, man.
But now, now you have to laugh at me right in my face. You can't laugh at me behind my back because I can see the comments.
Yeah. Now you all know.
Yeah.
So,
go ahead, slander me. Please.
So, everyone, I'm Alexie. This is John and Adam, in case you haven't
John.
met us before.
Which one's that? Oh.
I'm Adam, you're John,
Okay.
and that's Alexie. Yeah.
I'll get it one day. And today we are going to talk about How to Train Your Dragon. But first, we're letting some people trickle in. Hey, look, people are happy that you figured out the personal computer thing, John.
Glad to see you figured it out.
So John,
God, it's so painful.
John, right before we started, you were just telling me that you thought Mank was extremely mediocre.
I did. Is that going to start a shitstorm?
Let's start.
Yeah, while we're waiting for people to wander in. So I saw Mank, and wow, Fincher. It's gorgeous. By the way, it's beautiful.
Oh, visually, it's incredible.
Visually, it's just stunning. I mean, just stunning. Every shot you want to. It's like a still. It's about by the way, I mean, think about this. Think about that. If you're not David Fincher and you go into a studio to pitch your movie idea and they say, okay, yeah, great. What's it about? It's about a guy trying to write a script. Oh God, I can't. Oh my God. That must be exciting. Does he just sit there? Actually, no, he's got a broken leg. So he's just going to lay, he's going to be prone the whole time and he's going to get drunk. Oh my God, sign me up. Sign me up. Because that sounds action packed. So, I mean, they greenlit it because it was Fincher and Fincher's dad wrote it. So Fincher said, I'm going to do this for my dad. I'm going to get...
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. I found that interesting. I found
that's how it got made.
Right.
Yeah, they said,
man.
So we'll just make it.
So basically, have a very successful son.
That is, yes, the moral of this story is, yeah. And by the way, and then die. And then after you're dead, he makes your film. So I don't really. I'm not gonna go that route, but
Seems like a long game. A real long game.
It's just
that was a long game.
I was just saying right before we went on. I find movies about movies typically, there are a few exceptions, typically very dull.
Hey John,
yeah.
I was gonna say, John, you know what that reminds me of?
No.
Every single feature that's like, so this is about a film student in New York.
Yes.
Who just got to NYU, and he's really cool, but no one knows it. And he wants a girlfriend.
And he wants a girlfriend, and he wants to make his film. And I say, well, if he wants to make his film and wants a girlfriend, and that two objectives, yeah, but that's okay, Mr. Warren, because I do it like Quentin does. I break the rules, and I'm going, well, are you a freshman? Yeah, okay, so you've been here 2 weeks. So, by the way, if you're a freshman 2 weeks in, you're really still a senior in high school, as far as I'm concerned.
Oof.
How about that? How about them apples?
I think it's great.
Can you tell that I just finished the semester? and I'm angry.
John, do you have any?
Barton Fink's a great film.
Oh, Barton Fink is a great film.
And what were you going to say, Adam?
Oh, I was going to say, have you ever seen Living in Oblivion with Steve Buscemi? It's about the director who's like trying to get take after take of the film.
Yes,
having like an anxiety.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, that is my favorite film about a film.
You weren't even born when that came out.
I saw it 10 years ago, and then I rewatched it again.
Really good film.
Alexie, it is the funniest movie about movies being made. It's so good. Also, fun fact: Living in Oblivion. Fun fact: it's Peter Dinklage's first movie.
Oh,
yeah, he's in it.
Another great one, speaking of films about the movie business, is The Way We Were.
I haven't seen that one.
You haven't seen The Way We Were? Oh, The Way We Were is you know, it's
Redford,
Streisand, yeah. Alan Bergman and Marilyn Bergman wrote the score. I mean, it's just, oh yeah, it's good stuff.
Hey, John.
Was this a prompt? John needs to write a book about the misadventures of NYU.
And he gets fired immediately.
I might want to wait. Yeah, I might want to wait a week or two. Actually, maybe I should write it and they'd fire me and we'd all live happily ever after.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Can I, while I'm on this tangent, can I just, you know, bitch and moan just one more second?
Do it.
Yeah. I was waiting for your I almost didn't wait for your okay. So what the problem is, not the problem, but one of the issues is, and this is nobody's fault. Film students are very young. And I can say this because I was one. Young men mature more slowly than young women. So for a young man who's 18 or something, you know, to have a story to tell is just not. I mean, it's not. It's a lot to ask because they don't know what the hell's going on. You know, and so you see a lot of that. You see a lot of that. I would even go as far. I'm going to shut up after this, but I would even go as far as to say, for young 18, 19-year-old, you know, young screenwriters, adaptation is not a bad choice because somebody is coming to you with substance and story and gravitas, and then if you learn what, you know, things that we do in here, you can use those to build the adaptation. But it's a lot to ask, and in all fairness, it's a lot to ask a very young, you know, or an 18-year-old student to come up with a movie idea. It's rare when they do. I mean, it happens. It does happen, but it's rare.
Yeah. I can imagine MFAs are a lot easier to deal with. Just for the reason of they're older people.
They're older. They've had some experience. Yeah, it's life experience.
I wonder if it's also that people really believe write what you know, and so people are like, "Well, I know this," and for a lot of people, it's the same exact thing.
What if you grew up in like shitty Pennsylvania suburbia, and like that's all you know? Like,
you know.
Yeah, I have a friend who in high school he in high school wrote a play. It was called Fortunes, and it was basically about how the fact that college admission was a bitch. And it was like this emotional, serious thing, like Tennessee Williams level, like focus of him arguing with his mom about college admissions. And it was just it was terrible.
No.
Oh my God.
Somebody mentioned in here, and it's Abdullah. Yeah, the player. The player is a great, it's a really terrific. Michael Tolkien, this is me name dropping, as you know, is my want to do. Michael Tolkien lived in my neighborhood, lived just down the street, and our kids played together. And his father is Mel Tolkien, who was like with Sid Caesar and Woody Allen and Mel Brooks and all of those guys who started out together. And Michael Tolkien wrote The Player, and whenever I would see him in the neighborhood, I was so jealous that I would get nauseous. In fact, as I'm telling a story now, I have an upset. I need an antacid or something. I have an upset stomach.
I'm glad that happens to other people.
Yeah, daily.
Also, I do not own Stephen King's Under the Dome. I don't know what people are referring to.
Adam, what? Oh, you've got it. Says
I haven't read that.
Huh.
Yeah.
And NYU was open. The classes were online, right, John?
Yeah. I taught. We just finished the semester. We taught remotely. All semester, and I had a good time.
So that sounds suspicious.
Alexie,
no, I did.
Alexie, are you going to tell us about how to train your dragon?
Yeah. What about your dragon?
All right. Let's see.
For God's sakes. What's going on with your dragon?
Did you like the movie, John?
I did.
Hey, wait.
Adam, could you ask me that again?
Did you like the movie, John?
Oh, I did.
Oh, great.
There was a little, I tried to take the hesitation out of it. How'd I do? That's so funny.
Do you have a he hates it?
I don't have a he hates it, but I'll create.
Okay, we need one of those, I think.
It's important.
There it is.
What's John's most embarrassing story from his teens? Oh, that's a funny one.
Let's not get into that.
No, God, we'll be here all night.
We'll cover it one day.
Yeah.
John will write us a very moving short, a monologue play about his most embarrassing moment.
Right. Alexie, how about your dragon?
I have a different interpretation. Interesting. I'm looking forward to this.
Cool. So I'm going to get started on breaking how to train your dragon. So first off, hope you all liked it. I think that this is a super fun animated film that it's one of the first like big ones from DreamWorks that I remember being like super contender with Pixar level. Although I think they did like Shrek and stuff before. But anyway, this is the one that I liked the most. And it is about a teenage boy named Hiccup who lives in a Viking colony island where they're constantly at war with dragons. And unlike everybody else on this island, all the other Vikings, Hiccup is super docile and scrawny and just not a Viking at all, which is completely at odds with his father, Stoic, who is the leader of the Vikings, like a huge burly dude who is just the toughest guy on the island. So I think that Hiccup's flaw is that he believes he's weak. All this stuff has gone to his head. Everyone being disappointed in him and thinking that he's just like a misfit and kind of shunning him on the island. It's gone to his head. He thinks he's weak. And he has no confidence. And what he really needs to do over the course of this journey is accept himself as capable. He is a apprentice for a blacksmith, and that's really about the only thing he seems to be able to do right. And then one day there's a big attack of dragons on the island. All these dragons are attacking the island. All the Vikings have to try to defend against them. And Hiccup really, really, really wants to kill a dragon. He wants to kill a dragon and prove himself to his dad, win his dad's favor. And so he gets out this big slingshot thing and shoots down a Night Fury. And Night Fury are like these elusive, rare dragons that no one knows anything about, but just knows that they're super deadly and awful and terrible. He shoots one out of the sky, and no one even believes him. His dad's upset that he even came out during the fight because this kid's so scrawny. His dad puts him back in the house, and it's just like no one believes that he shot this thing out of the sky. So the next day, Hiccup goes out and he tries to find this dragon. He tries to find the dragon that he shot down, and he finds this little Night Fury that is as intense as they say, but is also super cute and scared. And Hiccup is compassionate towards the dragon and decides not to kill him. In the meantime, Hiccup has been asking his dad, Stoic, this whole time to let him learn how to train to kill dragons. And Stoic is constantly saying no. So then when Hiccup gets back to the house, knowing that he couldn't kill this Night Fury that was completely captive and at his mercy, he tries to tell his dad that he doesn't want to kill dragons anymore, right as his dad is telling him that he's going to set him up to learn how to kill dragons in like dragon killing school. So now Hiccup is roped into dragon killing school, and his dad is going off to try to find the dragon's nest, which they've been trying to find the dragon's nest, the home of all the dragons who've been killing them forever, to try to end their dragon raids. So when Hiccup goes back into to visit the Night Fury. He realizes that the Night Fury can't get out. He's wounded, and Hiccup decides that he is going to train this dragon. He's going to try to help this dragon. He's going to train this dragon who was hurt. It wasn't specified, but I would assume hurt because of what Hiccup did. I just think that that's what they insinuated. So there we go. Into Act 2. I would say that the antagonist is Stoic, who's just not believing in Hiccup the whole time, his dad. And now he is working with this dragon, and he's in a new world where the dad has just left to try to go find the dragon nest. He's on his own, and he has this secret where he is training a dragon in the woods among people that would murder the dragon the instant that they saw it. He also starts dragon school and meets all the other Viking kids from around the Viking island, like Astrid, who's a super tough Viking girl who he has a huge crush on, and their Viking teacher and all these other kids that they're much tougher than he is and bully him. Let's see. One of the first things so Hiccup sucks at Viking training, but he's really good with the dragon, who he names Toothless because he has retractable teeth. And Toothless is great. They're forming a bond. He has to learn how to get Toothless to trust him. He builds a prosthetic tail fin for Toothless to try to, because he can't fly due to the fact that his tail is now missing a fin from when Hiccup shot him down. And that's like his one skill again. He was good at being a blacksmith, and so he has the skill to make a tail fin for Toothless. But it turns out that without him controlling the tail fin, it's not going to work, because you can't just stick it on the back and not have it move. It has to move with the dragon. So Hiccup's going to have to fly on the dragon's back in order to control the tail fin so that Hiccup can fly. Meanwhile, training is starting to go better because of everything that he's learning about dragons. He learns that he can put them to sleep by touching a certain place. He learns that they're scared of eels. He learns all these things about dragons that really makes them seem more like dogs than horrible creatures. And everybody else is just completely shocked. They don't understand how this scrawny little boy is so good at taming dragons without even attacking them. And Astrid, his crush, is completely miffed. She's pissed. She doesn't understand how he got so much better than her so quickly. And she starts stalking him to try to figure out where he's sneaking off to, what he's doing all day. And she finds Toothless. And this is where I have the midpoint. In the whole confusion and the excitement of Astrid finding Toothless and being shocked, they end up on Toothless's back together, flying around the island. And it's a really nice moment for them, and Astrid understands why Hiccup likes Toothless, and it's sweet. Kind of got a little bit of romantic vibes, but, not all the way. And John.
Sorry. I'm going to mute myself here because so they did not go all the way. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that it was just like nice vibes. Okay.
I better mute.
Oh my God. So anyway, yes, they had nice vibes. Very sweet. Flying around on a dragon's back, and suddenly Toothless gets like a strange, like it tunes into a radar and flies them straight inside the dragon's nest, which is under the island. And it's this huge cavern filled with dragons, and all of them are dropping their food like a sacrifice down into the bottom of the cave. And while Astrid, Hiccup, and Toothless are hiding, they see that there's this huge, monstrous dragon in the bottom of the cave called the Red Death that will eat the dragons if they don't give a suitable sacrifice. So that's the midpoint. And then from that moment on, they understand that the dragons don't hate the Vikings. They're under duress, and that there could be peace if they took out the Red Death. Also, this is what Hiccup's dad went out to find. They've been looking for this dragon's nest forever. so that they could kill all the dragons and have peace on their island, not knowing that there was this other factor at play. So from then on, the new obstacles happen pretty quickly. Astrid wants to tell the village about the Red Death, but Hiccup wants to protect Toothless. He's worried that the island would kill Toothless if they told them about the Red Death, because they'd have to reveal his existence to explain where the Red Death is. And in the meantime, they get back, and Hiccup is named the best upcoming Viking out of his little teen class of Viking people, which means that he has the honor of killing his first dragon in front of the whole town. His dad is just getting back from his expedition that was not successful. All the ships are beat up, and they didn't find the dragon nest. He says it wasn't even close. And so Stoic is there to see his son named the top upcoming Viking and get to kill a monstrous nightmare dragon in front of the whole town. This is his ultimate test. So Hiccup goes in and is trying to use his peaceful techniques to subdue the monstrous nightmare, but the dad, Stoic, completely freaks out and sabotages it by making a bunch of noise. And we know noise scares dragons. And now Hiccup is being attacked by this dragon, and he's back to being afraid. He's not confident anymore. And Toothless swoops in to save him, but ends up getting captured. So now we're into Act 3. His all is lost right at the beginning of Act 3 as he's toothless.
Oh.
I know.
Sorry,
and
I had unmute. Oh, okay.
Perfect. I appreciated it though. So he's toothless. The Vikings have captured the dragon and have him super chained up to a boat because Hiccup revealed that he knows what's going on, revealed about the Red Death, and the dad's just going to use Toothless to guide them to the Red Death so they can kill the whole nest. The whole town hate him. Stoic disowned him. And he's just miserable, and Toothless is gone, and they're all probably going to die because they don't believe him about this big monster. So in this moment, his all is lost moment, Astrid comes to him and asks him why he spared Toothless in the beginning. And at first he says, I couldn't do it. I couldn't kill him. And then when she presses him, he revises that statement to say, I wouldn't do it. And Astrid points out the difference, that it wasn't weakness that stopped him from killing the dragon. It was compassion. And that's an eye-opening moment for him where he realizes that he saw himself in this dragon and that he wasn't afraid. He was compassionate. So now he's confident and re-energized, and he gets all the Viking teens, all of them go get dragons, and they go flying to save the day in the final fight. Right out of the gate, the final fight is a complete disaster. The Vikings are completely getting murdered. They woke up the Red Death, and this huge thing crashes out of the like cave, like Godzilla, murdering everyone. The dad's gonna basically sacrifice his own life so his men can try to escape. And the teens come in, and at first it's not looking good either. Toothless goes, the boat gets sunk, and Toothless is drowning because he's chained to the boat. Hiccup can't save him. And then in that moment, Stoic sees Hiccup's compassion and how much this means to him, and Stoic goes down and he saves Hiccup and Toothless from the water. Then there's this like beautiful moment where Hiccup is going to use all of his dragon knowledge to manipulate the Red Death and kill him. He kills his first dragon in front of his dad and the whole town, saving everyone, and they crash down on the ground. In the resolution, Hiccup wakes up. He has a prosthetic leg, like how Toothless has a prosthetic tail fin. And he finds that the Vikings are living in peace with the dragons now that the Red Death is gone. Everyone believes in him. He is confident, and he is like the top guy of the town, and his dad respects him.
All right.
That's the movie.
Good job.
Hey.
Good job.
Thanks.
Great job.
Thanks.
Fun. Yeah. I have a question. Who you had Stoic as the antagonist?
I did.
Huh. But Stoic, I'm just curious. I mean, we lose Stoic throughout the second act.
I think it's like he's like done his job of infiltrating Hiccup's mind, in my opinion. Like he's still there, causing him to doubt himself. Go ahead.
Does Toothless create obstacles? I don't know.
I guess you think Toothless is the antagonist?
I don't. I mean,
I think Toothless creates obstacles, but I think Toothless is more tied to the objective. I don't know.
It's tough. Abdullah asked, "You teach us that the protagonist should not change his or her objective, but doesn't Hiccup do that?" That's why I put the objective as killing a dragon with the motivation of, winning his father's favor. Here, I can pull it on the screen.
Yeah, I thought killing a dragon was the objective. I
thought so too, because.
But you could also argue that it's the way I read it. First of all, I think this totally works as an objective. The way I read it was to become an accepted adult in the Viking community.
Not canon.
To go through the tests and prove himself. That means kill a dragon.
I mean, I love that moment when they say you're top dog, so you go in to fight the dragon and kill the. I mean, that's
great I think pressure. That structurally, I think it works.
It totally works. I completely agree.
With the motivation being what you're saying, because he ends up killing a dragon in the end.
He does.
But it's weird because he's not necessarily in active pursuit of killing a dragon until late Act 2 when he.
But aren't they training? Isn't the training?
That's true.
The training part of the pursuit to kill.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's like you're getting ready for the World Series, getting ready, and now it's game day. Dragon in cage, go in, kill. I think.
Adam, I think this is more in line with what you were saying. Mike said, I thought saving his dragon was the objective, like training the dragon.
Yeah, but it's not as tied to his inner What? I think Alexie's is more traditionally correct, but I do think that is something he wants. It's something he grows to want as he understands Toothless and as he develops his compassion. Because the whole story is about he's taught that his compassion and kindness is a weakness, and the story is about learning that his compassion and kindness is a strength, not a weakness. That's what the story is about in a nutshell. So the dragon was a means to him obtaining his inner need, I think.
Spencer says too broad an objective for Hiccup to take his place in the. Yeah, I agree.
You guys are right.
That gets vague.
It's tough.
I just want to keep hitting Adam for a little bit longer if we can.
It's tough because traditionally, an objective story-wise is something that it's tangible, it's specific, it's difficult, it's basically unattainable. There was one more thing. It matters.
It matters.
It has to matter.
Yeah, and it matters because this is his father is his father's affection and approval are connected to the killing.
Right, and the reason why tangible matters is because tangible is the one thing that all these alternate ideas is butting up against. Tangible matters because we need to be able to see the moment that it happens on screen very, very clearly. If it's something like train his dragon, then he could have arguably have met that goal at several different points.
Early.
Yeah, pretty early in the film. So that's where so he has other motivations, and that's where we put the motivation. Let me pull
one of the things that I thought was tricky early on, this is the first time I'd seen the film, and when he was already empathetic towards Toothless.
Yeah.
I thought for a second, and I really had to think about it, and I didn't get it until the end of the film, that his inner need was to accept himself, to thine own self be true. That was his inner need, and because he knew who he was, but he was in denial of who he was, trying to be a big bad Viking, and then he said, you know what, I'm not a big bad Viking, I'm a guy who likes dragons.
Yeah,
and I thought that was cute. That was a interesting play on that.
What do you all think about this thematic question? I wasn't confident in it, but I thought it played to the Viking thing.
I like
it. I think it works especially because the whole issue socially with him is that his father thinks he's weak. Right. So, and he's basically, it's a father-son story. He's proving his own kind of strength to his father. In the end, his father sees him as strong on his own terms, not in the way his dad saw him before, which is, I think, great character. Right. And honestly, the reason this movie is great, or what is great about this movie, is that, like the nature of strength and masculinity. Vikings are a great like foil for that.
It was Vikings was a great choice.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? I mean, it was
really good.
And because what could be more,
John, when you said you got nauseous with jealousy, when I finished this movie, every single time I'm like, oh my God, I wish I wrote it. That's just.
But we all have that. By the way, I hate to tell you, Alexie, that never goes away. There are certain movies you go, wait a minute, oh my God.
So just to address Thomas's question here. So could his objective be to fit in with the other Vikings? No, because that's a means to an end. That's the motivation for his objective.
Right.
If so many people make this mistake of they make the motivation for the objective, and then the character is just sort of doing a bunch of little things that don't really matter, rather than I'm going to go for the one big thing that could solve everything. And like structurally, 99.99% of the time, you will be better off by finding a tangible, specific thing. So
that will keep your second act from derailing.
I think that the objective in this is definitely the most difficult piece to nail down. And Adam, I was wondering if you could talk about the possibility of looking at this like Paddington 2.
I don't think it is like Paddington 2, though. I really don't think it is.
Could you explain it a little bit?
So who would be the protagonist? Okay, so Hiccup, in the sense of like that Hiccup's kindness changes the world.
Yeah.
Like Hiccup's already so Paddington 2, Paddington's the protagonist, and Paddington is the inner need of the story. Like every other character in the world is flawed, and the arc is that the protagonist sort of creates like a belief system change in the story. You could make the argument that there's a belief system in his world. All the Vikings believe that strength only means you kill dragons. And you could make the argument that Hiccup is the means of changing everyone's belief systems. And that is an arc. Like it's like a macro arc. Like so many characters change. Astrid is antagonistic to him in the beginning. His father's antagonistic to him in the beginning. The other dragons are antagonistic to him. It's his kindness changes the world. So that's the argument that could be made. But I do think that because he has doubt and because he like has this sort of inadequacy, he overcomes his inadequacy. So I don't think it's that. But if you were making the argument, that's what that is. A neutral arc is what people have called it. I think like less than 1% of movies do that effectively. So
yeah, he definitely has an arc. So I feel like it doesn't quite fit, right?
No, it doesn't.
He's a different person at the end.
He has an arc himself. But Paddington does not change in Paddington, which is interesting.
Paddington.
You should watch it, John. It's interesting. I don't think you'd like it.
Paddington 2. You don't think I'd like it?
Well, I mean, it's a very sweet movie.
I wouldn't like because
John would hate it.
This was frankly too sweet for me, but yeah,
it's sweeter than this.
Yeah, because this was like okay. I get it. I got a cavity watching this fucking thing.
I think Amelie is a neutral arc. I haven't watched it in a long time, but Amelie, she is already figured out. Like everyone in her world is miserable because they don't appreciate the small things in life. She comes into everybody's story understanding the value of the small things. And we should rewatch it. It's a great. Also, we haven't done a single French movie, which is kind of weird.
Oh, we haven't?
No.
I got some really good ones.
Here's a cool question from Danielle. Is it typically encouraged to do so much explaining at the beginning and setting up of story for children's movies? So is this exposition heavy?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the answer is yes. And
it is encouraged?
I think children's movies have take more time to establish. Like the first act of Lion King goes into like half of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing that this genre does is, which I am not a fan of, they hit the points so hard.
Yeah.
I mean, the heartbeats, the life and death moments, the music swells. The music comes in. I'm like, oh my God, here comes the music. In case I'm not smart enough to know what I should be feeling, here's the music. So they really pump that because it's geared towards that audience. And
yeah.
And it was just, they're setting up a world very different from our own. And it's a fun world, so it doesn't feel as much. And it also, Adam, I know this is something you talk about in writing the feature. The exposition is conflict.
Yes.
All of it is conflict, and that's why they get away with it. If it was just, dragons existing, then that wouldn't be entertaining. You'd lose interest pretty quickly. But we see that there's this war going on and that they're constantly living as antagonizing forces with each other, and that Hiccup is struggling in the middle of it all. So it's conflict, and that's why it's interesting.
But just to speak on that great point that you guys brought up, that children's movies hit the beats really hard.
Yeah.
It's because, if you're trying to make a movie that moves a 5-year-old, they're not really paying attention. They're inconsistently paying attention. You want like the big moments to really hit. There's no subtlety. Okay, there's little room for subtlety in an effective children's movie.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But yeah.
And if there is subtlety, like John's favorite grape bottle cap thing from Up.
Yeah, but it's for the adults. The kids didn't get that.
Yeah, it's like, and it's information you don't necessarily need. You don't need it. It enhances the story. It's another layer, but you don't need it to understand the core story.
That's the real art form of Pixar, is that they really, really, really have mastered the 4-quadrant film, right? Like there's stuff in their movies that appeals to everyone, which is amazing. I mean, the better movies, they've made bad ones, but most of their movies,
stuff is amazing. Yeah.
Inside Out was an example that had a lot of good stuff for adults. Older people, but was great for the younger audience.
Somebody said Astrid, I think. Is Astrid who's the mentor here?
I think Astrid fills the function.
I think that there's two plausible answers that I see. I see the guy who's leading the dragon trainings, if he's the same guy that brings him back to his house in the beginning and is like, you need to not be yourself or whatever. Like, basically that your inside and outside are incongruent and your dad hates that.
But wouldn't that be a false mentor?
That's kind of, I mean, it was like back, the advice was right, but he was telling it from the wrong perspective. He was like trying to be like, don't be who you are. But the advice worked in the opposite direction too, of like telling him that there's some inconsistency going on. But I didn't think it was him.
Right, but like that's not the inner need. Like, let's talk for a second. The mentor is the function of the mentor isn't just like, oh, I'm a teacher figure in your story. No, a mentor is any character who has the inner need of the protagonist and gives it to them when they need it. So in the All Is Lost moment, Astrid very specifically tells Hiccup that I forget what she says exactly, but basically she tells him that your compassion is a strength.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So therefore she's the mentor because she's the one who tells him his inner need or helps him find his inner need at the second act break.
And it's a nice play. It's a nice play on that because she starts out as kind of an enemy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which I actually thought was really good.
I thought that was really good because, and then when I realized that she was going to play a different role, I thought that the the nuance of that was really well done.
There's a version of this where she was the antagonist of the whole film.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah. Absolutely.
She was like a false antagonist.
Thomas almost had a point about, I think I'm being devil's advocate, but Astrid, I think, was the manic pixie dream girl trope, or am I off base? I think the reason she's not is that she's a strong Viking in her society who she's an enemy first, because she's an enemy who turns into a ally and mentor. I feel like she has a lot of function in the story, so I wouldn't call her a manic pixie dream girl. She didn't exist to help. Sorry.
I was just saying, yeah, she fulfills core story roles. She's not just there. Like, she impacts story. She impacts the direction of the story.
Right. But she also has her own goals and her own like ambitions. Like, she's jealous of his accomplishments. The manic pixie dream girl exists only, like in the way people talk about it, pretty much exists only to help the young man self-actualize. Like, they have no other point of view. And that's not this character. Not to say that there aren't other weaknesses, but. So
here's a question structure things. Abdullah asks, could Hiccup be his own mentor? Is it not possible for a protagonist to be his or her own mentor?
It's I'm sure there are exceptions to this, but I can't think of one, and it's almost impossible, because the mentor is that little voice that's the consciousness of the protagonist. So if the protagonist already has that, then arguably they've already corrected. So that's why, it's, I don't know.
Carl brought up a very good point, actually. Toothless fulfills some mentor roles too. It's not like Toothless is a central character. He's actually pretty fundamental.
Yeah, he is. I mean, I was wondering about that. I think he's probably a friend, because Astrid seems like the more obvious mentor. But yeah, I thought the same thing.
Yeah, he is. Like, I mean, he mentors him and showing that dragons are good. Like, he opens up his eyes to this whole other side of dragons, and he also is the one that shows him where the nest is and all this important.
But let's not like be reductive in our the way we define these things. We want to make it very clear that mentor is a function. You can have a character learn from a lot of other characters in the story, right? Like, what we call the mentor is somebody with the inner need and helps the protagonist get their inner need. Like, it's a very specific thing. And just to follow up on John's what John was talking about, it's like, yeah, you could technically, I guess, get rid of a mentor, but it's always richer and better when there's a character who interfaces with the protagonist in a way and helps them grow. Like, that's always more interesting.
And I mean, so it's back to Abdullah's question about, could a protagonist be his or her own mentor? I think Adam defines mentor really well when he says that it's the character who holds the inner need. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, and the protagonist can't hold their own inner need until they've finished their journey. So that's one way to think about it. And then another point is just that to remember that these story elements are functional things in terms of your story. So, for example, your character can be flawed in a lot of ways. They can have a lot of characteristics that are negative, but there's only one dramatic flaw. Just like there tends to be only one dramatic mentor, and it all has to do with objective, inner need, and their transformation and their journey. So there can be a lot of characters who give them advice or who get in their way, but there's only one antagonist, there's only one mentor, traditionally.
And for the writer, as you're approaching a story and breaking a story down, to know that you've got all of these, I'm going to have to use the word again, tools, to know that you've got all these tools and how they're used, then you're no longer making arbitrary choices. You're making choices that are well-founded in story. And that'll just keep things from going awry later. Once you go to script, you've made conscious choices. And by the way, people always want to play with structure and break structure. I just mentioned, it's not a great example, but Astrid, who starts out enemy and then we realize she's mentor, That's a nice little play on that. But clearly, they knew what they were doing. That was designed, Yeah.
So Maria Paula has a question. Does it matter when the mentor is introduced?
Yeah, I mean, typically the mentor is, typically the mentor is introduced towards the end of Act 1. But there are a lot of different ways to do it. But if as you're breaking your story,
it's more meaningful if they're introduced earlier in the story rather than just like some rando shows up.
So if you introduce them early on and you don't hit it too hard, and then you realize, and sometimes the mentor will only be in the film 4 or 5 times. They just come in, they sweep in. Glinda the Good Witch comes in, follow the yellow brick road, boom, boom. See you later. I'll see you in the middle of the second act. She's gone. So So I don't know. I dug off on a So in the first act, typically.
Just to add on to that, I think it's so important not to think of the mentor or a lot of these roles as like categories that are totally separate. Like you can have a mentor who's also the antagonist, like in Whiplash. It's very rare. But you can do stuff like these are functions that are flexible within certain contexts. Like play around with that. Like that's interesting. Can you have a friend who becomes an enemy? Can you have a mentor who appears as a false mentor at first? Like, I don't know, just like it's their functions.
Yeah, it's such a great craft or art form, storytelling period, that hopefully as we're doing this, and you're starting to become aware of why did it hit me? Why didn't that one? I actually had Cosmo sent me an email this morning asking me if I'd seen Mank. And he and I had exchanged about 5 or 6 emails about Mank. And he said, I can't figure out why it doesn't work. And so we talked about it. But that, at the risk of sounding like really corny, it thrilled me for an ex-student to email me and go, it doesn't work. I'm not sure why. I've got some ideas. And we kicked it around a little bit. Then when you see one that works, you kind of go, oh, I know why. I know what they did. I know this is someone who is in control of their craft. And that's the whole thing.
We should invite Cosmo to join us one day.
Cosmo will come in. I asked him if he would. He said, yeah, he'd be happy to. So I'm going to ask him to pick a film. And then after the first year, he'll pick a film. He'll come in
Cosmo was in my class, and he is very fun and funny and nice, and also just a great writer. And he's been doing some great things in his career. He's been on the Blacklist a few times. He'd be a great person to have in here.
Yeah, he's been on the Blacklist twice with valedictorian and showrunner, 2 scripts he wrote, and he just sold a movie based on Joan Rivers.
Oh, interesting. What?
Yeah. He just sold. Is it time for a break?
She's got such a good life story.
Joan Rivers.
Oh yeah, she's an interesting person.
Yeah, he was telling me about it the other day. We were talking, and it's a great story. And I don't want to interrupt too much, but he told me. Speaking of nobody, I was about to say. Speaking of anecdotes, but nobody was speaking of anecdotes. So what the hell am I talking about? What's that say? Yeah, Adam and John are right there. Tendency towards everything.
So I'm going to read it out loud in case anyone's just listening. So Chris says, Adam and John are right. There's a tendency towards everything is possible in writing, and you need to hold a line on things like mentoring. So,
by the way, Chris, anytime you start a sentence with, Adam and John are right, that's pretty much...
You're great. I stopped listening.
I put a period there. I guess there was more, but all I heard was that. And I thought, oh, that's a great sentence.
There you go.
Wait, Adam, who could possibly argue with that?
I couldn't.
I will.
Again, I'd be arguing against myself. Alexie, there you go. play a devil's advocate. So, yeah, no, like, listen, ideally speaking, if you're telling a great story, the content of like the characters and what they have to say and what's happening distracts people from all of this stuff. This is just like the function, the scaffolding, the skeleton that like makes things work. But like, if you're hooked, you're not thinking about this stuff. Maybe till after the fact, you're like, wow, why was I hooked? When you have a really like kind of mediocre movie, that's when you know, that's when you're paying attention to the skeleton. I remember, the first time I watched Grand Budapest Hotel, I was not paying attention to anything craft-wise. No. I was just on the ride. That's what you want to be, you know?
Yeah.
The one thing that I do know, no matter what, is when I'm like, is this the midpoint? I pause it and check the time. And that's like, I can't help but do that anymore.
Yeah. No, you do, but like in a theater, you know, hopefully you like get caught. That's kind of
not
like the
John,
more you understand
something. With his watch, remember?
I'm there with my watch. Mystery. I told you, my daughters are sitting there watching a movie. They're going, Dad, we don't care. We don't care who the antagonist is. Please, Dad, stop. We don't care.
Oh, and right. Go ahead. Sorry.
Wait, what was I going to say? Something. I was going to say something. I don't know. God knows what I was going to say. I don't know.
I wanted to talk briefly about some changes that happened between the book and the film.
There's a book?
Yeah, it's based on a book.
That's what I was going to say.
Yep, this is based on a book. And
Alexie, you read it?
No.
Alexie, did you read the book?
I didn't.
Wow, this is a book. Wow, holy shit.
You didn't know?
2003.
Yeah. It's what's really great, I think, is that it obviously worked as a book. And then the author was very open to them changing fairly fundamental pieces of the story in order to make it work on the screen. And one of the things that they changed was they made Toothless like his own special rare type of dragon. They changed his coloring from like red and green to black. So they made him this like more antagonistic force, the Night Fury. And I thought that was a really, really smart move. I'm trying to remember.
Do you want to know what the sequel is called?
What?
How to be a pirate.
Really?
That's what the sequel is called. Yeah.
I like it.
And the first and the prequel, Hiccup, the Viking who was seasick.
The Viking who was seasick?
That was the name of the book.
These are all 3 books?
Oh, and then there's a 4th book.
Oh, Jesus.
How to Speak Dragonese.
See, I feel like these are the kind of titles I come up with.
How to Cheat a Dragon's Curse. Yeah, Alexie, you're very functional.
Yeah, my title.
The Dragon's Tail.
Oh, man.
A Hero's Guide to Deadly Dragons. How to Ride a Dragon's Storm.
Oh, my God.
How to Make a Dragon's Heart.
How many books are there?
Dragon's Sword.
Okay,
are you sure?
How to Seize a Dragon's Jewel.
Are these fanfics?
No, these are real. This is the Wikipedia entry.
Oh, my God.
How to Betray a Dragon's Hero. How to Fight a Dragon's Fury. That's the last one.
And I'm thankful for that. I am thankful that we've come to the end of,
That was too much for you? All right.
Who's writing dragon shit all the time? Who's doing that? I don't know.
I personally, as a young fantasy reader, enthusiastic, though I hated dragons. I always thought dragons were like, I just couldn't get into it. I rolled my eyes. There are all these dragon fantasy books, Dragonlance, I don't know.
You don't like dragons?
You weren't buying it.
I just thought it was bullshit. I don't know.
All right, there you go.
Sorry, in my opinion.
Adam doesn't buy it, but do you like it now? Do you like it here? Do you like this dragon?
Oh, I thought this movie was great. I liked this movie.
Good.
I think growing up, I just thought it was stupid. Elves and dwarves, though, really great. Seriously.
Oh my God. Really? You said no to dragons for elves and dwarves.
Elves?
I was making a joke.
I wouldn't be surprised, though.
Lord of the Rings. I was making a joke.
I got it. I just still.
Aragon was terrible. Oh my God, that book.
Here's a wait. What should we do, Alexie? It's your show. What are we doing here? Because if not, I've got something.
Do it. Did you see a comment you want to talk about?
No. Here's So I was reading this. Sometimes Alexie says, "What are you reading these days?" Anyway, I read this thing yesterday in the most recent Atlantic the Atlantic magazine, and it's written by Caitlin Flanagan, and it's about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And by the way, any of you take this, run with it, do whatever you want. I'm not going to do anything with it. But it talks about how one of the reindeers, and I forget which one, was perhaps gay, and how Rudolph was disabled, had a disability, a red nose, and Donner was kind of a disciplinarian, very, very strict. And I thought, to me, and tell me I'm crazy. There's a movie, so Santa sells Donner that because of the pandemic, reindeer's been wiped out, and you've got to put together a team by the 25th and so he's got a dysfunctional family group of reindeers that he's got to get into shape. Donner is kind of a Marine sergeant. That's it. Yeah, that's the article. Donner is kind of a Marine sergeant, and what he learns in the course of getting this misshapen group of people or of reindeer into shape to go and on the ride is that he learns compassion, because before his flaw is that he's a strict disciplinarian, and he realizes that understanding that not all reindeers are the same, he comes to his resolution. Am I crazy?
Oh man, this is so funny. I mean, she's not wrong.
By the way, I know this. It turns out I know Caitlin.
I've read other things of hers that I really.
She's a good writer. She's a good writer.
This is so funny though.
But it's kind of, Adam, is that crazy?
Dark.
Huh?
So this is dark.
It's dark.
I thought it was a bad movie when it came out, or when I first saw it.
And she says that. But so it's a dark. I mean, I think. Well, anyway, that's my two. I read it yesterday afternoon, and I put it down. I was kind of like 3:00 this morning. I thought, wait a minute, there's a movie there.
The Santa's Workshop Exposed.
Well, by the way, it's Santa's only the inciting incident. Santa says, "Hey, we got to have reindeer by this time."
So it's a father-son story. That's why you like it.
It's Donner, yeah, Donner, and Donner's the father. Donner, I believe, is Rudolph's father.
I don't know. I think Santa is kind of a sketchy figure. He he uses slave labor, you know.
Yeah. Here's the thing, and by the way, you can play that. Here's one other thing, just in case you were thinking about it. Christmas movies make a fortune because they play every year.
Elf.
So the guys who wrote Elf just keep sending checks.
Which makes me want to bring up that next week we're doing an arguable Christmas movie.
Alexie is like a host. She finds segues where there are no segues.
Well, she's controlling the boring guests by pivoting up.
I feel like I'm on wires, and Alexie's just moving me around like a puppet.
Yeah, that's my job.
What are we seeing next week?
Die Hard, and you're breaking it in a Santa hat.
I'm breaking it. All right.
In a Santa hat.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, it's our Christmas special, so that's going to be Die Hard. Yeah, Carl's family made me watch it.
It's a fun movie, though.
It is fun. It is fun. I just was like, we're going to do what? I mean, I was just not exposed to that.
There's a film called Reindeer Games.
Huh. Ben Affleck.
Oh, I didn't know that. Is it? Okay. I didn't know that.
Where they're planning a robbery. That's so funny. I like that.
25% on Rotten Tomato. 25%.
Jeez.
Ben Affleck.
That's 1 in 4. Not bad.
Oh, you
Die Hard.
Die Hard is going to be fun, but we still have a lot of time today. I just wanted to mention that since we were talking about Christmas movies.
Can we talk about why we didn't recommend the script?
Yeah, let's talk about that. So the script itself, the only reason that we're not recommending it is that the formatting seems screwy. I couldn't for the life of me find what appeared to be the original. I don't believe that the format that it's in is how it was intended, because it's got weird stuff going on with the dialogue being in the scene description place sometimes. And I mean, it's readable. You just have to do a little bit of discerning to figure out what's supposed to be what. But if we're going to reference the scenes, we want to be sure that, you know, it's the scenes as written. So that's why we haven't really pulled up the scripts or recommended the script today.
But I have a theory about why that is.
Really?
This is animation, and sometimes animated films are so heavily storyboarded that like a script, like at least keeping up with story changes are made like in between drafts, and sometimes the script sort of is like a record of what's happening more than like something that has been really polished and submitted. Like with Pixar's process is that they have the screenwriter write a discovery draft, submit it to everybody, they brainstorm the draft, they throw the draft out, and then they rinse and repeat until they have a script. Like,
yeah,
crazy stuff. But like, and this might have gone through that process. I don't know, but I think that animation, you know,
the third one has a really clear script online, and that's the only thing that comes up. And I think it was because the script might have been nominated. I don't know why. If a script is nominated, then you're more likely to find a good version of it online. But for whatever reason, this one couldn't find a clean version.
I bet there's a good version. I bet Die Hard's probably D'Souza and.
Oh, we have Die Hard.
Yeah, that's probably pretty strong.
Yeah, awards are weird though. Like, it's not necessarily the script that you get for like Oscar-nominated films is often not actually the script that was shot. Like, I remember what's the famous film Gosford Park?
Yeah.
Right. So Gosford Park, almost all the dialogue was improvised. But Julian Fellows, the screenwriter, won an Oscar for it.
Oh my God, that's funny!
What a trickster!
Yeah, and he's the guy who is the showrunner and creator of Downton Abbey. So, not feeling bad for him.
Yeah.
He leveraged that Oscar really well. But like the actual, none of the dialogue he wrote ended up in the movie.
Yeah.
But he got an Oscar for screenwriting, which I just think that's interesting.
Here's Shakespeare in Love. Go ahead. What?
Monica said, when do you submit Christmas movies? So like when do people submit, like send them around typically?
Yeah, you can do it. I mean, anytime. And what will happen if you've written, a good Christmas movie? They're gonna. I mean, if it really like catches fire, then they'll push it. So let's say if you wrote one, if you sent your agent manager somebody a Christmas movie today, then the studio went wild for it, they would jump into pre-production to get it ready for next Christmas, because obviously the release dates are very locked in, and then they take Elf and they put it on a back burner and they wait until December, whatever, or November, and they release it again. And then next year, same thing. And they just keep going and going and going. It's a fantastic thing.
I've noticed that people are looking for Christmas movies like right now. Like people are planning Christmas movies for next year or the year after right now. And I think it's because it's just on everyone's mind. It's not really all that practical, because a lot of times they're like preparing to release their Christmas movies this year. But I've noticed that people are thinking about it now anyway, like getting writers for Christmas stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's psychological, right? Like people are thinking about Christmas. Yeah. They don't want to think about Christmas in February as much, Here
we go. Thomas says, is there less editing on an animated film versus a live action film in terms of trimming and shortening scenes or taking out scenes completely? Yes. Big time.
Absolutely. Yeah, because everything been. Go ahead, Adam. What were you going to say?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, animating is incredibly time consuming and laborious. Every shot you throw out is hours and hours on the table. So it's not like shot like a live. It's not like they animate from like 18 different angles and then cut it together like a live action film. They animate it, the way the storyboard reads. They don't waste time.
And they do things in between storyboards and animating called animatics.
Yes.
Which is like a crossover between the two. To test things before. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, but just the discipline of having to draw your story makes the choices. I mean, I'm if there was a way that if you could have screenwriters have to draw every scene, because if you have to draw it, you have to stop and think, wait a minute, is this scene really important enough to go in the movie? And that's what animators do. They think long and hard about a scene before they just throw it in there.
And it's not just one person, it's teams of people.
It's teams of them. And they're really the whole team that like over at Disney, they've got this like floor. It's a whole, probably 2 floors. But anyway, I was in there once and there's like this floor, just animators. And they're really, animators are a breed unto themselves. They're very unique. They're kind of introverted. And so in that room, on that floor, they're just these cubicles. And it's really quiet. And these people just sitting there drawing their movies.
Pixar's office is one of the coolest things I've ever seen with like the animator floor, because they get to all decorate their little cubicle as much as they want. So some people do these like massively elaborate things in their space. Like one guy had like a secret, like if you pulled something down, it opened up like a secret little tiny room where you could go in there and drink. And it was set up like a lounge. It's so fun. I'll try to find those clips and share them on Discord.
I love animators. Love them. Jacob Kafka. I wonder if we could, Jacob's too so introverted, he probably wouldn't want to come in. But Jacob Kafka did a short.
He was our first coffee class. We did based on a true story for our very first coffee class.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah. Here's a quick, to go back to How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah.
Did we conclude that the objective did change in the film? And do you think that the film suffered for it? Was an even better film left on the table because this wasn't solved? Go ahead, John.
It's your movie. It's your movie.
No, I already broke it.
We want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I already broke it.
Oh, I mean, kill the dragon.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Kill the dragon is the objective, and
he does kill the big bad dragon. There was another earlier question that was saying, like, well, don't you think it was kind of a contradiction for there to be a big bad evil dragon at the end when the whole thing was about, oh, the dragons are okay too?
That's a good comment. I was thinking about that because the dragon, what's his name? What's his Red Death?
Yeah, the Red Death.
Yeah, so Red Death. I thought it was a really interesting choice because dragons are, turns out they're cute and cuddly, except for Red Death because he's the monster, and we need him to be a monster. So he's like the psychopath dragon.
Yeah. Which, the counterpart to that seems to be stoic, isn't it? From the dragon's points of view.
Yeah. What we really needed was for Hiccup to kill his dad.
Yeah.
That's what we needed.
That should have been the objective.
John would have liked the movie more.
That's a movie. That's a movie. And cut his head off.
Hey, John, I'm surprised you didn't point out.
What?
I'm surprised you didn't be like, and notice, no mom. Mom's dead.
You know what, Alexie? I bit my. I thought that, and I thought, no, I'm not going to say it. But now that you brought it up, notice, no mom. Why? Don't need her.
God.
Kill him.
Kill him all. Adam's just kind of like, what? But Adam, it's right.
Yeah, you're not arguing.
Yeah. And they never needed to there's a bad version of this where there's all this exposition, like mom embraced his compassionate side and he's so much like the mom, and him and the dad just never saw eye to eye, and then the mom died in a dragon raid, and now Stoic has no patience for dragons and blah. There's a version that has all that stuff in there. Mm-hmm. But to go to Adam's point again about exposition needs to attack the protagonist. It needs to increase conflict as it relates to the main thrust of the story, and that's tangential. So you don't need it, right?
Yeah. Also, what was Red Death's deal? Like, why did he want to kill the Vikings?
He didn't care about how they got the food. He just wanted food, right. I think. So
and also, like, the fish. I don't think fish would be as great a food for dragons as human beings. I don't know. I feel like they made a bad choice there. They should have kept eating
fish was a little, somebody's saying, Alexie, I love this. What's it?
There's an error in your script that says Hiccup is the protagonist, but it's clearly the Red Death.
But let's do a premise flip. All of a sudden, there's a children's film about hypothetical children's film where you make the dragons the protagonist, and it's like about the dragon who's trying to like connect with the evil Viking humans who kill the dragons, and the dragons are trying to protect themselves. Like, and you could totally do the movie that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. I mean, that's what's fun about stories. Yeah. If you know what you're doing, you can flip this. You could flip this easily, right? Red Death did nothing wrong. You're right.
Justice for Red Death. He's just living his best life under that rock. They colonized the rock. It's on the Vikings. They knew. Remember, they said we could leave, but we're stubborn.
Do you know what Pixar needs to do? More orphan heroes. They've been doing like the single parent protagonist a lot. Recently.
Orphan. You mean no parents?
Yeah, no parents. Let's go no parents.
Inside Out had 2, and I was like, what is happening here?
Yeah,
Orphan killed one of those.
Orphan protagonists are really good. I like them. I do.
Oliver Twist, baby.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. What's
So Carl, I checked the Wikipedia and you're wrong. The dragon is not called the Green Death. It is called the Red Death.
I think the song is called Battling the Green Death.
Called that, but the Wikipedia page says that it's Red Death.
Man, man.
Question: does it take the same amount of time to write screenplays for animated films versus scripts that are not animated / live action? I'd say animated because more is on the line, and before you start shooting, you have to really, really, really know what you're doing. You know, you can't have reshoots.
Yeah, I mean, like the reason for that though isn't necessarily that the content on the page is that different. It's just process where. Yeah. Especially if a studio is going to devote hundreds of millions of dollars and 5 years to making an animated film.
That's right.
They want to be involved in the development of that script. So typically they're not producing spec scripts in animation studios.
Yeah, and they've got hands all over that thing. I mean, just studio executives turn it over and over and over. I mean, oh God, it must be painstaking. Because studio executive notes can be just, you want to jump out the window. You know?
So it's like you could write an animated spec script as quickly as you'd write a normal one. There's no real difference there. But process-wise, animated scripts take much longer to get to a point where people are ready to actually do something with it.
Yeah.
And they're harder to do. At the end of the day, you're not writing a greenlit animated film unless you're part of the team already and you've been assigned the story and their story consultant team has brainstormed the characters and the idea and the concept. Like Pixar doesn't solicit scripts.
They won't buy outside Pixar.
Nope.
I will say though that if you write an animated spec script, it's can be used as a way to get meetings and be considered to be in that writer's room, to be considered to be on the team. So if you like animated films, I'd still recommend writing an animated spec script to show that you can do it, but just accept that unless you are 1 in a million, it's not gonna get made. And even then they would change it a lot because they want to feel like they contributed.
Pixar's got their team and God knows they're brilliant. And you know that they use their team to break story, and you will find if you sat down for a week and just watch Pixar films, the archetypes are right there. You can see them You can see them coming over and over and over again. They work. And Adam's point from earlier that they hit the 4 quadrants, that they hit a broader demographic than most, is absolutely true. But you can see fingerprints all over the Pixar films.
Hey Adam, you brought up that in your research you came across that Pixar tends to handle flaws as grand passions.
Yeah, they've done that a lot. So the way Pixar sets up their protagonist most of the time is that in the first 10 pages, they show the protagonist with something they love. Like they show what the protagonist loves. Like Woody loves being Andy's favorite toy more than anything in the world. But the flaw is that he has an unhealthy relationship with his passion. And the inciting incident is you take away the passion. And the protagonist has to get back their passion, but fix their unhealthy relationship with it on their journey. So Finding Nemo, Marlin is an insufferable micromanaging father. He loves being a father more than anything, but he has an unhealthy relationship with being a father. He has to get back his son and fix his relationship with his son and as a father in the way. Mr. Incredible is the same way. Mr. Incredible loves being a superhero more than anything in the world, but he has an unhealthy relationship when you can't be. He's very egocentric, and that ends up being why superheroes are banned. And so he moonlight. So in their way of getting back their grand passion, they take the low road at the Act 1 break. So their objective. So Mr. Woody tries to get rid of Buzz by throwing him out the window. Marlin, it just is the worst. And Mr. Incredible moonlights as a superhero illegally. And lies to his family about it. So all of these, that's how they do it. At least they've done it in
Adam, nice break. That is a good. You could do a whole.
I'm borrowing from Michael Arndt. The guy who wrote Little Miss Sunshine and Toy Story 3. He explained that's how they do it. So not original.
Yeah.
Still well put.
Really well put. Really well done. Is it Martine? Am I
Martine?
Huh?
Martine.
Martine. I love that. Yeah, I thought Hiccup was a little. I was like, yeah, Hiccup, you got to man up. I mean,
John had no patience for Hiccup.
I mean, he was just like quit bitching and moaning.
In a film about toxic masculinity, John's saying, "Man up, kid." It's really great.
Oh God.
I guess that was wrong. Well, what can I say?
Martine just brought up. So let's answer Ethan's questions first. Do you need to know how to animate or at least have drawing skills to get on a writing team for animation? Absolutely not.
No.
Writers typically are terrible at drawing. So unless you're also directing and animating your own thing, like a super low budget thing, no.
That said, though, in Pixar, they tend to hire people to do story. So they're not just hiring writers, they're hiring people to do story. And there's a lot of information you can see on how they work internally. Generally, to work at Pixar as a writer, you have to be able to draw storyboards. And they do these meetings where where a writer will put their scenes up on note cards on the wall with drawings and walk the other team members through their scenes. So Pixar is kind of abnormal in that sense, where I believe you have to, and correct me if I'm wrong, somebody who might know better, but right. To be a writer at Pixar, you also have to be an artist. They just look at story together. Granted, you don't have to be amazing. It has to be good enough that you can express what you mean on the cards. But Pixar's weird.
So there's a great question from Martine. Meta question. I find the temple structure to be extremely useful, but do they ever become an end as opposed to a means? Just trying to fill it up. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Yes. If you're forcing your story to conform to the beats, you're not addressing the real problem usually. The real problem is you pick the wrong story sometimes. Like the best stories are just so rich that they flow into the points, I find. You and also you don't never want to feel like you're writing to the beats artificially. You want it to feel natural. And it's like a problem-solving device. It's not a means in of itself. At the end of the day, it's a great story on the page.
Yeah. So Adam and I actually do this thing called the writer's room, where we try to, address this and take this on, where basically once a week we make a story up on the spot with whoever's in attendance for the workshop. We've done it twice now. We just did one completely open to everybody yesterday.
We've come up with some pretty good stuff, actually. I was pretty shocked, like, at how, like, in an out, like, we came up with a heist film about gardeners, and we turned that into a story, and it works, like, very bare bones, but like in an hour, it's super funny. We
fill out the tent poles and stuff, and I think that if you all have a chance to attend one of those, we're planning to do an open one once a month. Just to show how loose it's meant to be, and that it's just meant to be a fun way to think about story and make sure that your structure's there without really confining you and making you, without getting restrictive. I think it gets restrictive when you spend too long obsessing, kind of like when someone's on their 10th rewrite of a script.
Yeah, I think it's a really good question, and I agree with everything that's been said. Also, as you're approaching a story, you'll get, man, maybe you're already there, but you'll get to a point where you'll say, okay, I'm about to make this choice. And you know that is a wrong choice. You begin to not restrain yourself, but you know the pitfalls, the wrong turns, before you hit them. And it just saves you an enormous amount of time and frustration, because you go, oh, I want to go there, but I know that's a dead end. I'm deviating from story. And anyway, it just keeps you tied in a little bit.
Just last thing I want to say on that is, like, if you're trying to come up with a story idea that excites you, don't be looking at like act 3, act 1 beats, like focus just on like the abstract, like be open to lateral thinking. Like, this is when you're like, you should only be looking at the beats when you're like, okay, I have a story idea and I think it works. Let me test it. This is like a test.
That's right. That's great. That's exactly right. It's like that Rudolph story I just mentioned. When I read that yesterday, real quickly, I mean, I thought, okay, I don't want to do a Santa story. A dysfunctional reindeer family story, kind of fun. So I can get Santa out of there when he says, this is your charge, go put together the team.
Kill Santa.
So then I'm getting him out by the end of the first act. I'll bring him back in the third act when he says, where's the team? So you begin to shape that stuff. Also, anyway, but yeah, as you read newspaper articles, as you read stuff or come up with ideas on your own, you begin to go, okay, what is the shape of this thing? How does it begin to piece together?
It's like if you want to go into the tentpole document with a premise,
yes,
and then it can help you figure out. It can help you start putting it together like a puzzle, because like once you know the flaw, you know where they're going to end up. Once you know the flaw, the inverse is typically the inner need. It shows you what else you need to figure out, but it's only helpful once you know the premise, and honestly, once you know the genre.
Yeah.
Because, when we were setting up our heist gardener story, by
the way, I'm curious about that now. I want to hear that one.
It ended up being a florist. Yeah.
I know. So as I'm ranting about my class and everything, so I had this young man the other day. He's got this story. It's about somebody who's dealing drugs, of course, and so. And he said, and he gets to, he's telling me a story. He gets to the third act. He said, and then this guy comes in. We'll call him Fred. Fred comes in, and I'm sitting there going, Fred? I haven't heard about a Fred.
Was that really the character name?
I know. I'm making that up.
Okay.
But let's call him Fred. So he said, I said, well, I'm Fred. And he says, Fred. And then this guy, Fred, comes in, and I'm saying, you're in third act. I didn't say anything. I'm just listening. Third act introduces a new character. And then what does the guy do?
He solves everything.
He kills himself.
Oh. No.
So I couldn't control myself. I said, are you telling me that you're going to introduce a new character in the third act that we haven't met? We're now page 90, and you're going to introduce a new character, and then for reasons that are incomprehensible, he kills himself? And he goes, yeah. And I said,
edgy.
Get that out of the story. And the kid looked at me like, what? And I said, get it out of the story. And I thought, oh my God, this must be the end of the semester because I've had enough of this shit. But I mean, I'm like, I've been lecturing to you for 13 weeks and you come back to me with a new character that comes in the third act and then he kills himself for reasons that we don't, I mean, who cares? I'd rather introduce him in the first act, have him kill himself in the first act so we can get it over with, make it a short film. But is that funny? So anyway, I'm sorry. That was
like genius.
Did you tell him like, don't be an arbitrary, like, don't be.
I was a little, and I'm not really mean. I'm really not mean. I'm not mean. Alexie, am I mean? I'm not mean. So I notice I don't let her answer your question, but I was a little bit like, we're not having, and he started to say, but, and I go, nah, we're not going, yeah, but. Don't yeah, but me. Get that character, get out.
This is like your no cancer.
I thought, I don't know. What can I do? Come on. I mean,
wait. What if he killed himself because he found out he had cancer?
Oh man! And it was the mom, right?
And then the twist is that they were his mom, the protagonist's mom, all along. So the mom dies, and she had cancer, and she kills herself. We didn't even meet her till Act 3.
Man, that would fix it.
I'm starting to like that film. But anyway, the point of that was, in case it didn't make sense at all, is that, you would never do that. I mean, because you understand story, you go, yeah, anyway, okay, I'll shut up.
Real quick, let's answer this one last question.
Yeah.
Is it advisable to make a tentpole document for other characters, not the protagonist, to see if their arc works?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good idea.
Like, other protagonists other characters in your story don't have, like, objectives the same way.
Hey,
like,
they don't have the same.
By the protagonist's objectives.
Yeah.
Like, it'd be good to think through what their deal is, right? Like Little Miss Sunshine.
Yeah, and as you probably heard me say, your protagonist is only as strong as your antagonist. So, knowing who they are, what their motivations are, is yes, absolutely.
But like, I would just be, I would make it like a much smaller document and be like, okay, what's their inner need and what's their flaw, and like what are they trying to do? Like, make it very simple, because at the end of the day, you don't want to like build this document. Like, you don't want to build like 5 documents that are like really dense. Because at the end of the day, it's a movie. It's like fucking 2 hours. Don't complicate it.
Well, because each tentpole is a movie. So if you have a tentpole for every single character, then you have like 4 movies? Yeah, 4 or 5 movies. So you can think about how the character transforms, but they should all be contributing to the main protagonist plot line, right?
Yeah. It's just not clean if you like build it out like that way. Like, if you build out a full like beat sheet outline for every character, like from their point of view, I just think it's like not clean.
And I mean, the thing that defines a protagonist is, one of the things is that they're in active pursuit of an objective.
Also, like, the protagonist changes the game usually. Like, the protagonist has an impact on the world. Like, the protagonist is like a catalyst of change in the world and themselves and the story. Like, Luke Skywalker changes the world, baby. He blows up the Death Star.
Yep.
Spoiler for neither Alexie nor John have seen Star Wars, so
I've seen Star Wars.
You said you said you hadn't seen it.
Oh, yeah, 100 years when it first came out.
In the 70s. You haven't seen it since the 70s.
Yeah,
We'll do it one day. Man,
we should review. Die Hard, huh?
Yeah, next week. Die Hard. It's going to be super fun. Same time. Same place, and we hope that you all can make it.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
If in the meantime, if you all aren't already in the Discord with us, you should check the link in the description and do that. And then tomorrow we have our Writers Room Patreon Espresso edition, the mini coffee class. Normally we would look at scenes from the film of the week, but since the script is a little bit weird, we're going to look at the pilot for What We Do in the Shadows instead.
Hey, one of my favorite shows.
I love that show. Oh God, I love that show.
Pilot is so good. It's so good.
And by the way, those actors are so good.
I know.
They just keep throwing it away. It's like they never hit a line. They just throw it away, and you go, "Oh my God, it was a gem." You know, they're so fun, aren't they?
I think it's the best mockumentary TV show I've ever seen. Like,
she makes
so good.
She's off the charts.
Nadia, the woman to play, she's incredible. Like I mean, she just deadpan, condescending. Like, it's so good.
It's so good. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, if you're interested in that, you can check. That's also in the link down below, the writer's room. Check it out. But thank you everyone for coming.
Thanks everybody.
Have a great